Hello, fabulous queer geeks. As you can tell, I am not Ellen McLain or John Lowrie, but they're right next to me. It's okay. Sorry. So welcome to Voice Acting 101 with Professor, Lowrie, and Professor...
And my beautiful assistant, Ellen McLain.
Sorry, I'm still nursing my hangover. It's anyway. I would like to introduce myself real quick so I can get that out of the way and you can talk about what you actually are here to talk about. So I'm Benjamin Williams. I'm one of the co-founders of GamerX.
Raconteur, man of many parts. Big parts, I've been told.
Most of them broken.
I'll use this microphone now. I stole that from Pandora's last panel. Some of you were here, I know you know, so shame. Anyway, so I am here I have the extreme privilege of having been introduced to Ellen and John by a friend of mine, and they generously donated their time and talents to support the GamerX convention. Yep. And so, I mean, as you know, Ellen is most famous for her role as so here's the question. Is there a proper way to say her name?
Well, you know, when I first started recording it, Eric Wolpaw kept calling her GLaDOS. And then I was like, what GLaDYS? And then I saw GLaDOS, and I've always said GLaDOS. Because
then that's what I'll say.
DOS, the operating system, DOS, okay. GLaDOS. GLaDOS, GLaDOS.
Okay. Cool. So,
the problem is, no matter how you pronounce it, she still tries to kill you, so it doesn't really matter.
Politeness is still important in murderous situations. But maybe you didn't know because you're just not that cool, but she's also been in Half-Life 2, Team Fortress 2. She just recently did the voice of the robots in Pacific Rim. And also, most recently, she will be appearing in person, in the flesh, on film in a really great Kickstarted film called Winning Dad.
Yes, Winning Dad by writer-director Arthur Allen. And they're still shooting it up in Seattle. My stuff is done, because I'm just a mother. But the important people in the film are still shooting. And one nephew of ours came over from Barcelona to work on the film, and then another nephew of ours moved back from Japan to work on the film. So it's a real labor of love, and I'm very proud of it. And I should mention Wish It Inc. as well.
Yes.
That's Nick Celentano and Ryan Martin. And
yes.
We're going to do the shooting for that web series down in LA in August. And I get to be the fairy godmother.
Are they actually here? Because I know they're also queer geeks. So
no, they're not here because they're in pre-production. They're working really, really hard.
Aren't
Ryan
they
and
important?
Nick, they are important.
Okay, and we also have the illustrious.
Oh, and a little known fact about Pacific Rim. I don't know if you knew this or not, but all of the robots in Pacific Rim, totally gay. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
And on that note, I'd like to officially introduce John Patrick Lowrie. Perhaps most well known for his role as the sniper in Team Fortress 2.
Good on you, mate.
But also has credits from Halo 3, Halo Reach, Defense of the Ancients 2, and as well as some upcoming stuff such as Planetary Annihilation. John has been doing voice acting for video games since the late 90s. He is for reals. So yeah, I want to let you. So I know the panel is slotted for 2 hours, and I know that seems like a little bit of a long time, but we're gonna have lots of fun. We'll have Q&As, and we actually do have a little surprise for you at the end of the panel. So if you duck out early, you suck.
Yes. You'll be sorry if you leave.
You will.
There'll be cake.
So we'll get to we actually will talk about voice acting. We won't just sit here and go here's a great. But before we get to the voice acting part, I just wanted to ask you about your support of GamerX, because like I said, you supported it from the beginning. You did the videos for the Kickstarter.
Yes, but that was all because of Charlie Logan.
That's true.
We,
Charlie,
we
do you
will
want to
just
stand
do
up and take a
anything
bow?
that Charlie Logan
I know you're here.
says. There he is, Charlie Logan.
Unfortunately, Charlie knows a lot about our tax situation and of some of the unfortunate things we've done in our past. And so even though you guys don't know this, but Ellen and I are both in the ungay brigade. There's no gay in brigade. Okay, there's kind of a gay in brigade. It's actually almost half a brigade. Okay, anyway, but we're actually here to ungay everyone.
Okay, so
Yeah. John, is now the time when I should start talking about how you took your shirt off in the opening ceremonies?
So I want a Queen for a Day T-shirt.
Someone make it so.
but you know,
No, I'm serious. Someone get up
originally-
and do that. No.
Originally, John and I are trained musicians. You know, I'm a fine singer. He's a trained musician. But that's how we know. That's how we know Charlie Logan, because we've worked with Charlie, you know, at musical events, and you know, we fell in love with Charlie, and Charlie introduced us to Ben, and so it's like, well, if Charlie told us to do it, you know, we try to do things that young people tell us to do.
But in all seriousness, I mean, Ellen and I have been in the music world and in the acting world for decades now, and really first, you know, met gay people that were out in the early 70s and have really followed the struggle all the way through. And I mean, it's been very gratifying to watch our country struggle toward the ideals that it was founded on, of all people being created equal. And this is kind of the last step. And it hadn't occurred to us that gay people got harassed at fan cons. It hadn't occurred to us that game manufacturers didn't really think about putting any sort of gay storylines in games. And we thought that this was a brilliant idea, just to raise the level of awareness that you guys are out here and you're doing it. And I mean, we were just very proud to even be asked to be a part of this, because I think we both think it's very important. So good on you guys.
So, gosh. Well, okay. Well, I guess that covers the whole, like, your career supporters. Can't really say more about that. Okay, so on to the voice acting, which is why we're ostensibly here. Yeah, right. No, seriously, we're going to talk about voice acting. So, John, like I said, you've been voice acting since the late 90s in video games. That's correct, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind
Oh,
of.
good, because that's what your IMDb said.
Right. Right. I mean, it's kind of hard to say when it started. I mean, I think I did my first audition for a video game in 1996. The video game itself probably came out in 1997. So I did Betrayal at Antara, I think was one of the first ones, and I did Spy Fox breakfast cereal.
What about championship bass fishing?
Championship bass fishing was a little bit later, and no one can pronounce it even now, but right. But yeah, early on, well, so actually getting into this now, how many folks here really are seriously thinking about trying to get into voice acting? So we have quite a few. Okay, good, great. So I think that both Ellen and I would concur that the operative word in voice acting is acting. Of those hands that I just saw, how many people have had any sort of training at all as actors? So, great. Because I think that, and this is, well, it's kind of interesting, and jump in here anytime you want to, but there are two worlds of voice acting. One is, the guy who goes, "in a world," and stuff like that. And the people who sell toothpaste and tampons and all this kind of stuff on TV that are just doing, that's all voice work, right? And I've done that. I've sold, more than my share of tampons, I can assure you. There's just, this voice of authority, use this tampon and it will not fail you.
Wait. John, can I give it a try? Be like,
sure.
We will not have any leakage today, ladies.
But it's that kind of voice work that doesn't really require much acting. It's mostly just announcing. But with animation and with video games now, there is a lot of voice acting out there that really requires a lot of acting. And I've gotten calls from people in California saying that they have trouble finding people to do video game work well because most of the people in LA have done commercials for so long that that's kind of what they do. And when they're asked to actually sell being eaten by a space spider, they just don't know how to do it. And so, but I think that first and foremost, what an actor does is take language that someone else has written down and figures out first why his character would say anything at all, and second, why his character would say this particular thing. And so you're constantly, when you're voice acting or doing any other kind of acting, you're trying to figure out, why am I communicating? Any kind of written language, any kind of spoken language, and that's what acting is about, is us trying to accomplish something. And it's interesting as you get into acting, how much of what we say has nothing to do with what we say. I might say, for instance, I'm a voice actor. You might think, if you were reading this line and saying, okay, I need to say I'm a voice actor, the reason I'm saying it is because I want people to know that I'm a voice actor. If you're an actor, the first thing you think is, okay, is he trying to get laid? Is he trying to get elected? Is he trying to get out of something? Is he trying to avoid paying his bills? Why is he saying this? Why do we say anything that we say? Nice hat. Why are you saying that? Does the person need to know it's a nice hat? Do they not know it's a nice hat? Almost always there's some other agenda, okay? And so, that's the fun of acting, and as you get into it.
Tell your story.
Okay, well, all right, so.
Settle in, children. It's time for a story.
So when I was doing Betrayal at Antara, it's been interesting watching the video game industry mature. Because when they first started up, they were really just a bunch of maniac kids who wanted to make games. They were kids who'd spent their young lives making mazes when they should have been listening in math class, and then computers came along and they went, we're in heaven. But they had no idea what to do with actors. So at Betrayal at Antara, first, it was this kind of medieval-looking game, and I thought, okay, well, maybe it's set in England, and this is the very first game audition I'd ever done. So I thought, well, I'll do a Sean Connery thing. That'll be fun. So, I'm doing this, well, Sean, I think we should go, and do all this. And evidently they liked it because they hired me. And the first thing they said to me when I got out to Sierra Online, this is when I was working, they said, we really liked your audition. We really liked that Sean Connery thing you did, that Welsh thing. I elected not to mention that Sean Connery was Scottish at that moment. But the thing is, at that point, all they did was give you a bunch of lines. And they didn't give you the conversations that they were in. They didn't give you the script. They just gave you your lines. And the writers weren't even in the room. And so I'd have all these lines, and I'd say, okay, well, why am I saying this? They had no idea. And they'd find, I asked that like 2 or 3 times, and they finally said, well, let us ask the writers. And so they'd call up the writers and have this long discussion with them and say, okay, this is happening. Well, we got to one point in the game, and the line was, goodbye, son. And I said, oh, why am I saying goodbye to him? It could make a difference. And, oh, right, okay. So they call up the writer, and they talk. Okay, so in this game, the game branches, and your son is either going to go down the street and buy some bread and be right back, or he's going to walk through this interdimensional portal and go to another universe and you're never going to see him again. So could you make it work for either one? And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, yeah, okay, I think I got something. Goodbye, son. That's great, that's perfect. So, but as the industry matured, you got the writers were always in there, and they would always tell you, okay, basic things like you're in the middle of a battle. The people you're talking to are 50 feet away or 100 feet away. You need to yell, stuff like that. You're scared, things are chaotic. Or this is where you're calm, you're all trapped in a foxhole, you're right together, you can't talk loud because there are snipers all around. This is the stuff that you need to know to make a game work. And as an actor, this is the kind of stuff that you need to be able to commit to if you're going to do this kind of stuff. Because if you're being eaten by a space spider, you can either do this, or you can do this. Don't try this at home, we're professionals. So, but you see, the only thing that I did was use my imagination to really see what part of my body was getting devoured first and how I was going. And this really came in handy, particularly in Halo ODST, where I played this awful South African rapist dude that is eventually torn limb from limb by an angry mob. And they just said, so they just have at it. There's no script. This is what's going on. And so I started out being fairly verbal, saying, get your hands off me and stuff like that, and devolved into people tugging on me and hitting me and punching me, and then my shoulder getting dislocated, and my other shoulder gets dislocated, and finally my arm being ripped off of my body and stuff like that. And it lasted about 90 seconds of this guy getting killed. So, and they loved that stuff. They just ate it up. Because, really, the guys making video games want their video games to be just as good as movies. They don't want, bad dubbing. And if you're playing a first-person shooter where the acting is bad, and every time you run into somebody, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, you're really scary. It's like, fine, why am I bothering? So, acting is central to these kind of games. Okay, and then I've been talking a lot, but I'm going to talk some more.
Well, John, can you tell us a little bit about, so people who want to get into it, what's sort of what's the process of getting hired to do a video game? How do you even get your foot in that door?
Right, and that's where I was going to go next. That can be kind of strange in many different ways.
And Charlie's a perfect example, because he took your advice and is doing exactly what you told him.
Should we just pull Charlie up on stage?
Come on up, man.
Charlie, get up here.
Charlie, come on up.
So everyone, this is Charlie Logan, a friend of mine from Seattle, and he's the one.
Friend of mine from Seattle, too.
No, he's my friend only.
No, he was my friend first.
Okay. Everyone give Charlie a round, please.
And the reason you're applauding for Charlie is just a couple of months ago, he did his first video game voice acting gig. So, if you feel like you have your acting chops together, the next thing you want to do is get yourself a voice demo. This is an investment in your career, and it's going to cost you, in Seattle, probably around $500. In New York, maybe as much as $750. In LA, I'm not sure. But it's going to be a significant investment. But you want to do that because in order to get an agent, you need a voice demo. The way that Ellen and I got started, really, was that we had jobs when I was going for my doctorate in composition at the Indiana School of Music as DJs on the local NPR station. And I made a couple of funny commercials and stuff like that, and that was the first things on my reel. There are lots of different ways. I think that for anyone going to cons like this, and for people who are into games and people who know creative people, one of the best ways nowadays to kind of get your foot in the door and start putting a reel together is find people who are doing projects. If you know people who are putting together a little animation or a little game or something like that need acting, volunteer to do it. And then your voice is on that, and you get it on YouTube, whatever, you can put that on your reel and use that to go farther. But really, when it comes right down to it, getting into voice acting means auditioning. And the reason that you get an agent is so that you get auditions. Other ways that you can get auditions, if you go online and Google voice acting, sites will come up like Voice Acting 123. There are lots of them, and I don't know the names of them, others, but these are just audition factories. They put auditions online. They will get tens of thousands of people submitting for each audition, and so usually the first 4 or 5 are the ones who really get heard. And so stuff like that, you want to be online, and when an audition comes up, audition right away. This is a way. And it does, I think there may be a membership fee of like, I don't know, $25 a year or something like that. The cautionary things I will tell you is if you approach an agent and they say, yes, it'll cost you this much to be with my agency, say thank you very much and go look for another agent, okay? How agents make their money is by getting you work. When you work, they get their money. They get 10% or 20% sometimes of what you get. Don't pay them anything else, okay? But getting a voice demo can be a real challenge. I know exactly where you go in Seattle to get one.
Right, and you gave that advice to Charlie. So Charlie, who did you go to see? Get up to that mic, boy.
And do it in an interesting voice.
Well, I'll try to tell you everything that I can tell you. It's not gonna be easy, okay, okay.
No, seriously, there is one woman in Seattle who is the queen of voiceover demo reel and coaching and things like that. Her name is Veronica Weichel, and her husband Steve is also the producer of the demo. So basically I got coaching from Veronica for probably about 1.5 years, and then she and I discussed whether or not I was ready to actually make the reel, because it is a pretty heavy financial commitment.
Right.
And I said, yes, I think so. So she hooked me up with Steve, and we spent a couple of 1-hour sessions recording the demo, and then he turned around and delivered it to me, I think, like 2 days later or something like that. So it was really cool.
And I think that as a voice actor, you want to think of your demo as if you were starting, say, a hair salon as your storefront. You know, I mean, yeah, you could paint it yourself, or you could hire somebody to do a really good job, decorate it, and then people walking by say, oh, this place is legit. So if you have a legit voice demo, that's what people think. Okay, this guy knows what he's doing, or this woman knows what she's doing. The voice demo sounds professional, and so we can count on this person. Because remember, whenever you are in a gig, the least part of the expense that the producers are spending is on the voice actor. They're paying lots more for the studio time. They don't want to waste studio time on somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So this is why in video games, you very rarely, and Ellen and I have done it once, work with any other actor. You're just reading your lines because they don't want to spend the money having you sit around not talking into a microphone while the other actor is talking into the microphone. So it's all just you in the studio.
So, Charlie, your first gig, how many different characters did you voice?
So I got this email from Akash Thakkar, and he is I guess the sound designer at PAX, recently hired on as. And he is the sound designer for this video game called Ironclad Tactics that's coming up, and it's going to be released, I believe, at PAX. So I get this email, and I'm expecting to do maybe like 1 character, and on it is 7. And I panicked. And I wrote to John, and I said, John, I need some coaching. How do you, I'm gonna be recording 7 characters in approximately 5 days. What can you tell me about how to do that? And it really is all about just being in the moment, understanding what it is that your character is saying. These were 4 lines for each of the 7 characters, and they were very, very short lines, something to the effect of cash in your chips, or quickly. And so quickly, why quickly? Quickly, because maybe they're being chased, or quickly, or because they're trying to keep quiet. So you try to picture the situation and in your head and try to just not be in a studio in front of a microphone, but be the guy or the gal or whatever it is.
Well, and the coaching was very interesting, I think, for you because we we ran into the fact that the Charlie. I mean, this was kind of a military kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was big tough guys.
Yeah.
And Charlie has never been a big tough guy. And so we talked about it, and this is part of the job of the actors to say, okay, particularly as a voice actor, I now get to be the baddest ass in the room. I never have been. I've always been the guy who's kind of negotiated my way out of things, tried to settle things down so there's not a fight, and kind of, say, be friendly and all this kind of stuff. And now you don't have to do that. You have the biggest gun, you have the biggest muscles, you can just fuck with people.
Hard to do when you come from a background of being bullied a lot.
Right. But this is part of the process of acting, is to know that even in the most bullied of us, there lives a bully. That every one of us is Adolf Hitler and every one of us is Mother Teresa. We have all those things in us, and we all know they're there. Anybody who's driven on the freeway has met Adolf Hitler.
Well, so speaking of that which lives within us, Ellen.
Yes.
So you got into voice acting because you've been like a performer for many, many years, like in music, things like that.
As John said, decades.
Well, he's your husband, so I have to be nice. But so tell us a little bit about your experience getting into voice acting. Like, how did you transition from your musical career into voice acting? And I have a follow-up question, but I want to hear what you.
Well, but it's because I trained as a singer and I trained for opera, but John and I were both working at WFIU at Indiana University, and so we did do a few little commercials for the station. And then when we came to Seattle in '89, John immediately put together a professional voice demo and said I should too, and I said, I don't need to, I'm singing. And, and I was teaching and
She
doing
would
all
say things like, and you need to know this, she would say things like, oh, I don't have the right kind of voice.
They're not gonna hire me. They always use men. They're not gonna like my voice. No, they won't use me.
So I don't want you guys out there whining, oh, I'm too gay, I'm too lesbian. Shut up, get a voice demo.
I feel like
He's right. He's
I feel like
right.
there's going to be a lot of mirror time though when you're like if you are of the sort of like fabulously femmy variety, like you're going to spend some time in front of that mirror and be like, yeah, take it, boy. Yeah.
Well, but I think ultimately, there are a lot of voices that I can't do the monster truck voice, Get down in the mud. That's as close as I can get. So all of us are, going to be typecast somewhat by the kind of voice that we have. That's okay. They need everything. They need everybody's voice.
I was at MagFest in Washington, D.C. with John St. John, who plays Duke Nukem. And this young woman came up and asked if there was, opportunities for women in voice acting. And John
And bad on John St. John.
And John had the temerity to tell her, well, you can, but, men are just better at being evil. And I said, excuse me, have you met my wife?
No, I am. I actually think that I'm not really evil. I'm just passive-aggressive.
Okay, so
But to continue, so in 2002, I came to a point in my career, it was kind of, it slowed down a bit. And John said, Ellen, get a voice demo. And so I had the time and I had the money and I got a voice demo. And some of my first jobs were very interesting. I am the voice of Bitchin' Betty. And this was my first job. Bitchin' Betty is the voice of the Honeywell runway alert system. And
GLaDOS is flying your plane on the way home. I just
well,
thought
but
I'd let you know.
90% of the airports in the world, there is a voice, and you can choose either a female voice or a male voice that tells you at what altitude you're flying. And I mean, we are in San Francisco, and do you know that the runway alert system, unfortunately, had been turned off the day of the tragedy? So, but that is one of the first voiceover jobs I did. So you do these strange things. I also did a voiceover job for the Democracy Project in Northern Africa, in Egypt, and I was a voice that was, to promote encouraging women to get into politics in Northern Africa, in Egypt, in Algeria, and Tunisia. So, you never know what you're going to voice.
Yeah, I actually have a cousin who does voice acting in Las Vegas, and she is the voice of the Sands Casino.
Yes.
Like anytime any announcement is made, it's her, so she avoids the place at all costs because it creeps her out. But so I want to ask you, so talking about being passive aggressive instead of evil, when you first got the script for Portal, what did you think of that? Like, what was your first reaction when they said, "We want you to be an evil murderous computer"?
Well, but they didn't tell me that at first.
Oh.
At first, I just thought I was, the vocal prompt to help the player through the game. And really, at a certain point, I started seeing these lines, and I said, "What's happening here?" And ultimately, I figured out that I actually started lying to the player. And I said, "Oh, I see, I'm lying. Okay, I understand that."
Wait,
but I really didn't know at first that I was, interested in testing and did not care whether the player was killed or not.
That's curious because I actually, whenever I've played the original Portal, I've always felt like that there's a moment of transition in the voice acting.
Yeah, there was.
Well, but I thought that it was very intentional, but apparently it was just a natural process.
Yeah.
Because there's just a moment where all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, damn. This bitch is out to get me."
That's right. I didn't know.
That's interesting. I had no idea. That's really cool.
Well, but this actually is speaks to the point, is that when you're in there in the studio with all these lines, the directors, the writers are in the actual studio, and you're in the recording booth, and they're telling you kind of what's going on right now, and they might tell you, like, they told me that Balaram the Great Eagle is a good guy in Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, but mostly you're just going along scene by scene. And the great thing about the way they wrote GLaDOS, I thought, was that GLaDOS really does have a real arc, and that they carried that through even in Portal 2 and gave her even more of an arc, which is stuff that that actors love, is actually taking a character from point A to point B. If you notice that the sniper, he never really has any kind of moral,
Compass.
realization or anything like that. He just enjoys shooting people, and that's what he's going to always do. But when you're voice acting, it's not like being in a play. It's not like even being in a movie where you're given scenes to read. You're just
when you're given a movie script, you have the whole script, so you actually see the whole arc of the character. But for Portal, they were kind of writing it as we went along, and I didn't know the arc of the character. Now, for Portal 2, I did, and I asked them. And the story kept changing, but I did ask.
Yeah,
So
and they write these things. I mean, really, they bring in actors to say lines, and they'll take the lines back and put them in the game, and they'll say, "No, we don't like those lines," and they'll come back to you with different lines, which is great because it means more work for us. But it's a very kind of feedbacky kind of thing where they try some things, they don't like that, and the great thing for us was that GLaDOS was so central to Portal that when the writers were writing the second game, usually what they'll do is they'll just have somebody in-house just read the lines so that they're in the game and they can work with the graphics and stuff like that. And people say, no, we can't do that. We have to have Ellen reading these lines because that's it just doesn't work otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. Ellen, I'm curious, do you have a particular line that's a favorite of yours from the series?
Killing you and giving you good advice aren't mutually exclusive. The rocket really is the way to go.
It might jeopardize our friendship to say this, but I have to say my favorite line is, "I'm a potato." Sorry, just brilliant either way.
She likes to say that to us at choir rehearsals, too.
Yes,
If we're not singing correctly.
that's right.
Wait, really?
No, not at all.
Oh, damn.
I'd be dead.
So,
No, that's right. Charlie and I are in the same choir. We are. And right now we're between music directors, so I'm kind of the interim music director, so I get to have my way.
She's kind of a big deal.
So
It's
John,
great being a music director when you can, threaten with deadly neurotoxin if somebody doesn't sing the right note.
so we're gonna do a Q&A here in just a little bit. So be thinking of questions. We'll have people with mics that will wander around, and it'll just be, if you catch my eye, we'll call on you. So be creative. But John, I wanted to ask you real quick. So not only are you a voice actor, but you are also a published sci-fi author.
That's true.
It's true. Can you?
See, I'm not just some schmuck.
He's not just a stripper on stage in San Francisco. I want you to tell us a little bit about book, because
That's the book.
That's the tiny version of the book.
The very
Okay. Yeah, no, the book is called Dancing with Eternity, and it's won an award, and it's got a bunch of 5-star reviews and stuff like that, and people seem to like it, and some guy here cried when he read it, and, if I can make just one person miserable, it just makes me feel so good. But it's set 2,000 years in the future, and the big hook is that they've figured out how to fix you so that no matter what happens, you're not going to die. So that if I shot you in the head, you'd go to the hospital and I'd have to pay for it. This pretty much wipes out murder and war and stuff like that. But it introduces some other interesting things into the social structure, like what do we do with babies? Well, having babies kind of fades out of fashion. People don't do it anymore. What do we do about religion? Nobody's going to meet their maker anymore, stuff like that. And how do we stay in touch with one another? We don't seem to, there are ways that we need each other even more than we ever did, because there's also this one of the ways that they do it is there's this telepathic internet where everyone is hooked up, so that if you really are out somewhere, like say in the middle of space, and you are going to die, you just upload your personality onto this internet, and they grow a new body for you and feed it back into it. And the size of the internet, the internet basically, this kind of telepathic internet its power comes from individual human minds. And so the more human minds there are, the more powerful it is. And so it creates a society where each individual is absolutely necessary to every other individual. But there are still rich and poor people, and so the poor people have to basically enslave themselves, indenture themselves in what I call the trades for like 60 years, at the end of which they get rebooted for a next life. And you have to do this process every 60 years. So it's half total technical rocket ships and ray gun sci-fi flying around the galaxy, and it's half social commentary dealing with all of these things that if you took away death from people, what would we do? Because, the original joke is I thought, there are lots of science fiction stories where we meet some immortal race. They're always very serene and very wise and very godlike. And I thought about the people that I knew as they were getting older and older, and they didn't seem to be getting any more serene or any wiser or any more godlike. And I didn't think that, stretching that out to 1,000 or 2,000 years would change that equation at all. And so I thought, what would it happen to just regular old, farty old, smelly old us if we didn't die anymore? And so that's what the book's about.
So John, if they were interested in reading your book, where would they get it?
Well, you can buy it from me here, and I'll autograph it for you.
No, really?
Yeah, we were selling it out in the hallway, and people were just walking right by me like I was a piece of cheese.
Those bastards.
But they came right up to Ellen. Oh, you're wonderful. We love you. It was very hurtful. That's nice. But no, you can get it on Amazon.
Can we have a moment where you all show your love for John?
Thank you. But if you have a favorite independent bookstore, go to them and order it from them. But you can get it on Amazon, you can get it at Barnes and Nobles, all that kind of stuff.
Or you can just buy it from him right now.
Right.
He takes favors.
And just so you know, we're working on the audiobook version. We've already recorded all of the dialogue, and guess who does the reading? I do all the male parts, and Ellen does all the female parts. And it's an experiment we're doing, because some of the voice acting that we do is I play Sherlock Holmes on a radio series called The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, produced by Jim French Productions up in Seattle, and it's also on the web at imaginationtheater.com. But doing radio plays, we're really down with sound effects and stuff. So we're doing kind of an enhanced audiobook where there's a little bit of music leading into and out of every chapter, and you're always in an acoustic environment of where the story is happening. So if you're outside, you hear birds and crickets and stuff like that. If you're by a waterfall, you hear the waterfall and things like that. So I think it's going to be a pretty fun project.
Cool. Well, I want to move this along to make sure we have time for Q&A. And just so you know, we're going to do some Q&A. And then, like I said, I'm going to have to stop at a certain point for that special surprise I told you about. But then we'll do more later. So if you don't get your question, that's okay. So I'd like to go ahead and start. And I see a volunteer raising their hand. But you're a volunteer, so.
Mr. Facebook.
What, Mr.? Oh.
I know that because that's how Matt Kahn introduced you to us last night.
Nice. So there's a volunteer coming with a mic for you so everyone can hear your questions, so.
Hey, I'm Ben. Thanks very much. So you both worked in animation as well as gaming, is that correct?
Well, just a little bit of animation. The animation we've done is for Valve, so we haven't done like cartoons and stuff like that.
Do you have any experience or know like how it's different voice acting between the two? Because it sounds like with games it's very like iterative. You mentioned a lot of back and forth. I'm guessing animation is a lot more like film, where there's a lot
Well,
of
it is more
set,
like
right?
film because I think for animated stories. I mean, if we John and I love Cartman, South Park, and all that. But they take the actors in together. I mean, if you are in a scene with other characters, you are in the studio with the other actors and you record the scene. But game work doesn't work that way.
Right, basically because animation is a narrative that is determined, and so you're trying to get the scene to work a certain way. With games, of course, the player is determining how the scene is going to go, so it's different that way.
Cool.
So next one, the first hand I saw was a gentleman in the black shirt. Right. Oh wait, no, someone already has a mic. Never mind. Yes, you who were standing. I apologize. I didn't know you already had the mic. How's it going?
Hi. How important is guild association to voice work?
Oh, being in Screen Actors Guild or that kind of thing?
American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, and we're now one union, SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah.
One union.
But to answer your question, there is a lot more work out there that is non-union than is union. It doesn't pay as well, but I would say that as a person getting into voice acting, build up your resume for a while before you become union. When you become union, you get benefits, you get retirement, you get health plan, and you get better paycheck.
Pension.
But once you're in the union, you're not supposed to work outside of the union, and so all that non-union work goes away for you. So that's a decision that everyone needs to make as they're going along. It's like, okay, do I have a big enough resume? I just got an offer for a union job. If I take it, I need to join the union, and that means now I'm doing union work. Do I have enough of a rep? Do I think I can do that? And you have to kind of answer that question for yourself. Does that answer your question? Thanks.
Cool. Gentleman in the black shirt.
Hi, thanks. First, I want to say that for most of my life, I've been pretty bad at ADHD, and Portal is the first game I've ever finished. I actually finished it in like 6 hours.
Cool.
Along with Portal 2, back to back. So I was like, holy crap, I finished this game. So I wanted to give you some credit for that. Also, when I first heard or watched the trailer for Pacific Rim, I was like, that's GLaDOS. Did they license that from Portal? And my question is,
Yes.
They did?
Yeah.
I was very curious about like the copyright, and I started thinking about like, can somebody own your voice?
Well, Valve, the game company, owns the character. They own GLaDOS. And Guillermo del Toro went to Gabe Newell and said, because he's a big Portal fan, he and his daughter, and they wanted to put GLaDOS's voice into Pacific Rim. Now, ultimately, they processed the voice for Gypsy Danger slightly differently. But the first recording session, I was up in Seattle, and Del Toro was down in LA, and Bill Van Buren from Valve came with me because he knew I was nervous. And while I was recording lines for Pacific Rim, Bill asked Guillermo, he said, I will give you the, do you want the processing equation that we used at Valve for GLaDOS? And I quote Del Toro. He said, well, as we say in Spanish, fuck yeah. So, he could have chosen to have Gypsy Danger sound exactly like GLaDOS, but he ultimately chose not to do that.
Cool.
So.
That's very awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Next one, volunteer with the mic. Oh, okay, yes, security volunteer. You get to ask a question because you're volunteering and you're awesome. Okay.
I wouldn't get to otherwise. That makes me sad.
You're working. Get to work. Like.
So my question is for Ellen. I know a couple people who have met you. I also live in Seattle and kind of have a job in the gaming industry. And so I know several people that have met you personally and had conversations. And the only thing I've ever heard is, she is the nicest lady I have ever met.
I'm a good actor.
She has sucked the life out of me.
No, wait, okay, I have to interrupt you for a second because, so when I first met Ellen, like I said, Charlie introduced us and we were gonna go and talk to her about Gamer X. And so she said, oh sure, like come over to my house, I'll cook dinner. And I was just like, if there's a cake, I'm running out the fucking door. And so I'm sitting at the dining room table, and Ellen is in the kitchen in a like frilly, I think checkered apron, making me spaghetti. And I was just like, this is so fucking surreal. I don't even know what to do. Like, so, but the answer to the question is that yes, she is a perfectly lovely, nice, kind lady. Was that your question, or is it? Were you asking if she's like for reals, or?
No, my question is like, how did you, put that niceness aside and become the cunning, evil, passive-aggressive character of GLaDOS?
Because every character wants something, and GLaDOS wants to test. GLaDOS lives for testing. So when you have that objective that nothing can get in the way, then you become amoral.
And many actors will talk about developing a character is not about making sure that you have a certain quality. A lot of times developing a character is making sure that this character does not have a certain quality. You start with you and then you take away mercy, say, or compassion, or the ability to cope. If your character needs to be frantic, you just start with you and then you just can't cope with anything. So it's important to remember for you guys seriously considering this, that acting is about human behavior, and every human being, and this is so central to this particular con, we're all the fucking same. All of us are human beings, every one of us. And I tell you, man, you know, when I have watched actors perform over the years, and I've had some kind of, you know, reservations about their work, and then they come out and they have, you know, some sort of conservative position about gayness or this or that. I say, oh, that's a problem. They don't understand human behavior. They're not actors at all. They're just bigots. So.
Okay, so on that note, I'm going to pause the Q&A. We will resume it. Don't worry. Don't give me that aw crap, because you're going to like what's coming next. This is the surprise that I mentioned earlier. So we're going to take a pause in the Q&A. And as Ellen said, she is a professional singer. And John, it turns out, is handy with a banjo.
You are going to do a sing-along.
They would like to invite you to join them in a little bit of a sing-along. How many of you know a song called Still Alive? It's from a little game called Portal. You know it?
Now, you all probably know this better than I do because I never had to memorize it. Happen to have the lyrics right here, so I'll be checking all of you.
Hang on one second. Sure. Can I get this mic, please? No, maybe.
I'd love to have some mic, please. It's so delicious.
Maybe, a little bit. No. Okay. Yay, there's a mic. Okay. Now we got it.
Yes, yes. What's my note?
Sorry, just saying, I'm trying to remember the song.
He's thinking.
Okay.
Please help. This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so sincere right now. Even though you broke my heart and killed me, all were fabulous. But I have a bigger surprise.
Wait, what was that you
Do
just
know-
said, Ellen?
Do you know that some new lyrics have been discovered? Yes, after Aperture Science was destroyed by you, I actually wrote a few more lyrics. But I need a lovely assistant. Is there anyone here in this room from, let's say, Belgium? Is there anyone? Are you, sir, from Belgium?
Come on up.
Would you come up here? I need Belgique.
Assistance.
Oui.
Step around the front of the table.
Okay. So, are we still on?
Yes.
Now, so this is the first part. So will you help me, here, help me get down. Hold on. Oh God, I'm so heavy and old. Oh, okay. All right, come with me. So now please tell me what your name is.
My name is Koen.
Koen,
Yes.
your whole name.
Koen Jans, yes.
What's your middle name?
Victor.
So your name is Koen Victor Jans.
Yes.
All right. Maestro, are you ready?
Okay.
So now you have to put your hands on my shoulders. Put your hands on my shoulders. Yes. Here we go. Okay, are we ready? Note, please. You are a triumph. Intercontinental, huge success. Chris cannot overstate his satisfaction. Con Victorians, he's loving you more and more each day. Would you like to be with him until you both are dead? But there's no use sighing over every great take. If you keep on crying, you'll just mess up the cake. So the wedding that's done, you go and have fun. All the days that you are still alive, you'll be married and you're still alive. You'll feel fantastic and you're still alive. Still alive. Still alive.
Well, babe.
I have a feeling that I know what's going on.
Maybe. Wouldn't it be great if I tripped him up? Okay. I think Ellen said it best. You know, when I first met you, and I learned you were from Belgium, I said...
He calls me Waffle.
Yeah. I said, you know, we're going to meet halfway here and we're going to drown in the Atlantic Ocean. But then 2 years later, here we are. And I have a gun. So, Koen Victor Jans. You make me the happiest man.
Really? Babe, I love you so much.
Will you marry me though?
I will!
Get out of here. Go up to your room or something. I told
Did you see that the ring came out of a little golden companion cube?
Oh, I'm seeing wet
Right in the
eyes.
feels.
I told you we had a surprise for you. Well, it's for him. You were just here. That's cool. So who wants to do the next question for the Q&A? No pressure. Well, all right, no, seriously, we will continue with Q&A after that show of ridiculous awesomeness. But I need a volunteer to come take this mic for me. Or you know what, screw it. You have a question?
Damn you for making me cry before getting my
I know, I would have sung a lot better on that, but I was starting to cry.
But it's really hard to ask now, why is GLaDOS such a bitch?
This has a heart we never knew. So my question is this: has there ever been a job that you've gotten that you looked at the lines and said, I have absolutely no idea how I'm supposed to do this, and what did you do to kind of overcome that obstacle and move forward?
Well, that's a very good question. I have to say that there was a job a couple of years ago that John and I turned down, and we don't turn down much. But, and this was a very interesting, it was a very interesting job because, you know, we'll make personal appearances and we will improvise and we will do sort of things. So is anybody here familiar with the novel Jane Eyre? Yes, and Jane Eyre, she's a poor little child, and she grows up in this horrible school with a horrible headmistress and husband, and they're cruel to her. And this person wanted us to come to her birthday party and be these two people and be cruel and mean to everyone at the party. And we said no to that.
But I think that, I mean, as in gigs where we get actual written script, the best way to do that is to have a discussion with the director or the writer. It all comes down to what the character wants, what the character's background is, and you can talk to directors about that. So, what's this guy like? I mean, you know, is he a happy guy? Is he an angry guy? What does he want? Why is he doing this? If you're really talking to a character in a way that you don't understand, the writer understands it, hopefully, or the writer's just bad, okay? If the writer is bad, then it's up to you to just come up with something that's going to work, and we in the industry call that turd polishing. So you have your bottle of turd polish, you can get it at any
Is everyone still feeling romantic now? Actually, yeah, I'm still feeling romantic. I need some romantic questions from the audience. Like, who's got, all right, someone get this man in front of Mike. Oh, you have one over there. I apologize. The screen is obscuring my vision.
I don't have a romantic question, but...
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, you remember my name.
If you need a moment, we'll give it to you.
What advice can you give aspiring voice actors to those that live in less populated areas, such as like Ohio?
Well,
I have a
just for
sister who
example.
lives in Ohio, and several nieces and nephews.
No, I mean, the best thing that I can tell you is get on VoiceOver 123. And, you know, I mean, just Google voice acting, and they'll take you to sites, and you'll have to decide, do I want to pay this membership? Does this seem exorbitant to me? You know, and if it's more than like $25 a year, it's exorbitant, okay? But that's, I mean, the nice thing about voice acting is that you can be anywhere and do the work. You can live in, you know, Yukon territory and do the work. As long as you have a, you know, high-speed internet and can record stuff and email it, that's all you need. So, and
Wait, really? You record it yourself and then send it? Because in the previous panel, Pandora Box was talking about sitting in a closet with her iPhone recording for her video game, and I was like, are you fucking serious? Like,
This is the amazing thing about digital recording software. You need a good microphone, But once it's in the software, once it's digital, you can't do anything to it. You're golden, okay? So, I mean, I would say, go out and spend $150 on a microphone. If you're going to do your own work at home, if you're not just, if you're just going to audition at home, $150 for a microphone is plenty. If you want to actually do your own work at home, you're going to want to, cheapest way is find a closet, line it with old egg cartons, because they're anechoic, as people understand no echoes, right? And so you want to make it, you want to seal it. If you live someplace quiet, fine. If you live by a highway, you're going to have to seal that room so that you don't get the noise from outside. The problem with actually doing your own work, and I know a lot of people who do this, is that they only pay you for being a voice actor, and you're going to spend about 60% of your time being an engineer. Editing, deciding whether or not that take was good enough, all that kind of stuff. That stuff drives me crazy. So I don't do my own work. We do our own auditions. But lots of people are out there who are just fine with somebody recording in a closet full of egg cartons with a nice, medium-sized microphone and digital software. Plenty of quality. So don't type yourself out just because you live someplace, unpopulated. We have the internet now. So, we can have sex with people on the moon. We can do voice work.
Can I follow up on that one a little bit?
Sure.
So one of the things that I was trying to do to get my voice out there when I was trying to just find avenues of becoming a voice actor was I said, well, there's nothing stopping me from publishing myself now. And you can get a free iTunes channel, basically, where you can, publish your own podcasts and stuff like that. So one of the things that I did to record these podcasts is I went to Storables. I don't know if there's a Storables in San Francisco, but in Seattle it's this containers place. And they have these collapsible canvas bags that are about 14 inches cubed. And you line the sides, top, and back with acoustic foam, or probably egg cartons.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Get a USB microphone. The one that I prefer is from a company called Blue. It's called the Yeti. And I previously used a Snowball, but that one broke, and so I bought the Yeti. And I took it in my car. My car is the most soundproof place in my townhouse that's right directly under a flight path. Thank you, Boeing Field and SeaTac. And you just record a little bit of ambient noise before you start speaking, and you can use a free software called Audacity, which is what I use, to take that noise profile and then apply it across the rest of your clip to reduce even whatever noise is in the car. The car thing I actually discovered is for people who podcast on the road. And so there's no access to studios at all. I mean, they're always in between towns. And they found that their car is the most acoustically quiet place on their trip. So that's what I do. My studio is my car. And then I throw them up on iTunes, and hopefully 2 or 3 people download them.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because if you set up a closet in your apartment or your house or wherever, you're going to be making the door look like a car door. You're going to be putting padding around the edges and stuff to seal it shut. So yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do the next question, and you had one, and you said it was maybe romantic.
Yeah. How did you and Ellen meet?
Oh.
Okay.
It was 1986. Were any of you alive then?
Yeah.
Oh, lots of hands. You were like 2. You were 3. Okay.
I was 4.
Let me tell you why I like gay people. Ellen was in Europe rehearsing a European tour of the Broadway show Showboat with a group of men and women who all wanted to have sex with men. And then the band got there. I was playing banjo and guitar in the band, and Magnolia, who Ellen was playing, needs to play guitar in the second act. She needs to accompany herself on a guitar when she's auditioning for this job. And Ellen had gone so far as to buy a guitar and really try to learn how to play it. Now, this is not Red River Valley or, Home on the Range. This is a Jerome Kern's jazz tune in E flat. And she was just a total stormtrooper just trying to get this down. But there was no way that somebody who had never played the guitar before, it'd be like, saying, okay, you need to play the, Brahms violin concerto in the second act. It's just not going to happen. But the conductor, Bill Barkheimer, said, I want you to meet Ellen because you're going to be working with her, and she might want to have some guitar lessons with you. And so he took me into the cantina of this little theater in Arnhem, Holland, and introduced me. And he said, John, this is Ellen McLain, and Ellen told, and she, Ellen, this is our guitarist, John Lowrie, and she turned to me and said,
Have they told you how pitiful I am?
that was her first line to me. And so we talked a little bit about the guitar, and then she told me about how she had memorized everyone's name. She said, when I first got here, I memorized the first names of all the principals, and then I memorized the last names of all the principals. Now I'm memorizing the first names of all the chorus, and then I'm going to memorize the last names of all the chorus, then I'm going to memorize the first names of all the band, and then I'll memorize the last names of all the band. And I thought, this woman is batshit crazy. In short, my kind of woman. So then she came looking for me. We went to Amsterdam, and she wanted to have a guitar lesson. And I was just going out to dinner, and she happened to be, she came over from her hotel over to my hotel, and was in the lobby. And of course, my name, Lowrie, doesn't translate into anything in any European language, and they can't even read it. I mean, if you ask for Lowrie, nope, no one by that name here. They don't recognize the letters at all. And so she was just kind of hanging out, and I happened to come out, and she said, "You're just the person I wanted to see." And so we went out to an Italian restaurant,
And he told me all about World War I.
Just saying, it works, okay?
How romantic.
And then it was time to go back to her place for her guitar lesson.
And I had one.
Her attention seemed to wander. But that's how we met, and we had this incredible romantic courtship across the continent, staying in 600-year-old hotels and wandering around Europe, just working 3 hours a night. She had a relationship back in the States. I had a relationship back in the States, but they were both kind of needing to end, and it was just very, very, very romantic, and we've kind of been on our honeymoon for the last 27 years.
Yes.
So for Christ's sakes, get married. What's holding you people up? I don't understand the problem.
Okay, just take one moment real quick. Is your question romantic?
It is.
Oh, good.
It's basically a follow-up.
Okay.
So you got the first question was, well, how did you guys meet? But my question is, so was the audiobook the first time you guys were able to work together in voice work?
Well, no.
And what was it like? Yes.
What was it like doing the audiobook?
Okay, so the first time we worked together in voice work was Left 4 Dead. Because Valve, during Team Fortress 2, I mean, we did a lot of voices for Half-Life 2, and they didn't know we were married. And then they hired both of us for Team Fortress 2, and finally figured out that we were actually married to each other. And so then they decided, oh, well, we're going to do Left 4 Dead. We need them both on there. So they hired us to be the bickering married couple on the houseboat at the end of the game, on the radio on the houseboat. That's us. But working together on Dancing with Eternity. So I'm just a voice actor. He is a voice actor and director who also wrote every single word. And he knew how he wanted all of them said. So I got lots of direction.
It was great for me. It was kind of hell for her. So
Actually, I'm sure you guys know this because you're ultra nerds, but I love Ellen's work in Team Fortress 2 because that's what John is most known for, but do you know that she's the administrator in Team Fortress 2?
Overtime!
Actually, Ellen, will you indulge me? Will you indulge me?
What?
Can you please say victory?
Victory!
All right, on that note, so it's not quite 5, but we didn't have to go all to the end, but I think that is a really great place because I think that that proposal is a victory. And I just got a note that Chris and Kuhn would like to invite all of you to join them at the hotel restaurant at 5 p.m. for Portal Cake Pops. My understanding is they are little companion cube cake pops. And it's first come, first served. So at 5, which is why I'm letting you out now, so that you all don't murder each other trying to get at the cake pops.
There will be cake.
So Ellen, John, thank you so much. Can I get a round for Ellen and John?
Thank you, and thank you, Charlie.
And let's get a round for Charlie, too. All right, thank everyone so much.